Your inner knight. I believe everybody has one, or most guys have one. I think we're taught in this society that the inner knight is kind of old-fashioned and kind of frowned upon, kind of archaic, kind of outdated, and not needed and not necessary, and old school, passé. But in reality, outside of this culture, and probably some places in this culture, but definitely outside of this culture, your inner knight is being called to action. Your inner knight is very desired. Your inner knight is exactly what many international and foreign women want and need. We talked about the code of chivalry. Do you remember that, guys? We talked about the kinds of values and qualities espoused by knightly men. We'll touch upon some of those tonight as well. We talked about why certain noble traits are very desirable to foreign women. We talked about the core values under times of stress. Remember, guys, I said that in times of stress, and relationships fall under stress. International relationships sometimes become challenged and are stressful. You know, the lives of women in places like China and Ukraine and the Philippines are very, very stressful. And what we know is that when we're under stress, we are usually operating according to our core values. So if our core values are good, if our core values are knightly and chivalrous, then we come shining through in those times of stress, right? So it's important to focus on those core values and to develop them. It certainly is for me. A good number of men want to be knights, want to provide, want to protect. We talked about that. A good number of women still need men who will provide and protect for them. American men and foreign women very often want the same things. And that was pretty much the crux of what I was getting at when I did the Night at the Crossroads presentation 2 weeks ago. Well, now I want to continue on. So we're going to talk about what kind of men are thousands of international women from all over the world looking for. You may think that's a simple question to answer, but it's not. But I'm going to tell you what kind of man are thousands of international women from all over the world looking for based on my 17 years of work in this industry. How do international women define what they're looking for? Very important. How do international women define real man is what we're going to talk about. What are the traits that are so important to international women? We talked about the code of chivalry. Those things are certainly important, those knightly traits, right? But what specific traits are so important to international women, and why? Why are those traits important? What implication does having these traits have on your future? If you have the traits of an inner knight, if your inner knight is coming out, right? If suddenly you feel there's this new thing going on, you feel this catharsis, you feel this metamorphosis, there's a change in you since you discovered the possibility of meeting somebody from another culture and giving your love to somebody. You can feel that catharsis coming on. What implication does that have on your future? And we're going to talk about what separates a knight, a knightly man, from a common villager. And I'm probably going to offend some people. Don't want to, but I might. But it's okay. International women want a real man. I'll tell you a little story. There was, I had a staffer, this was a long time ago, I had a staffer who had a birthday, and I just wanted to acknowledge the birthday, so I went into a store and I was buying a certain kind of cosmetics, if you will, and I had one of my interpreters with me to help me with this, and the interpreter did such a great job, and the retail associate did such a great job, so I bought these cosmetics, and I bought a little gift bag, and I decided to give some to the interpreter as well, because the interpreter was obviously kind of interested and envious, and so I bought some extra cosmetics, if you will, for the interpreter, and I had a gift bag for my staff member, and I had a little gift bag I gave to the interpreter. Well, there were a number of women who were in the store who were just kind of watching me interact with the retail associate. I was making her laugh, I was making her smile, I was telling her she was doing a great job, a lot of positive feedback, just interacting with her really, really well. And then, of course, my associate I was giving some definite appreciation to, and I gave that gift to my associate, didn't realize that there were women in the store who were watching. And then, of course, I had a gift for my employee, which was very, very important. So as we were leaving the store, some of the women stopped and said something to my interpreter, and my interpreter said, "They say you're a real man." And I never forgot that. It was kind of a fun little moment. They said you're a real man. So what did they mean by you're a real man? You're kind, you're gentle, you're giving great feedback, you have this air of confidence about you. Like, you know, how many men would walk into a cosmetic store and buy cosmetics for a woman and for an employee and be able to do that well? So they just saw that I did that, did it comfortably, gave positive feedback to everybody, and they complimented me on that. And that was cool. I like that. The real man. International women want a real man. They do, guys. They do. International women are often asking for a real man in their profiles. Have you ever read that and wondered what they meant? I want a real man. I'm looking for a real man. You think, well, of course you are. Of course, a real man. But you perhaps take for granted what they mean by those two words, real man, and what context that comes from, right? International women will say that they want a real man. Remember, guys, that sometimes when they're talking about meeting a real man, I know the tendency around what we do is to assume that foreign men are evil, or foreign men are not good, they're abusive, they're drunk, they're this, they're that. I know there's a lot of marketing that says that. It's not true. It's really, I mean, certainly to some extent, like it is in all cultures, including ours, men can be unreliable in other cultures. But for the most part, the problem for women is that isn't so much that the men are bad inherently. The problem is that the society, the culture around them makes it very difficult for men to be reliable. It makes it very difficult for men to make money, to be successful, to be able to support families. Or in the case of some cultures like Ukraine, there just aren't enough men. In Russia and in Ukraine, there aren't nearly enough men for the number of women. There is a huge shortage of men. There is a huge, we're talking millions, surplus of women in Russia and in Ukraine. And that really is the biggest problem for women in Russia and Ukraine. There are not enough men. And then certainly cultural factors come into place at a time like in China, for example, when many women are encouraged to get married by the age of 30 to a traditionally arranged marriage with a Chinese suitor. May go well, may not go well. It's going to be arranged. It is what it is. It'll make your parents incredibly happy. And there's so much pressure that women in China are under to be married by the age of 30 so that they don't become Sheng Nu. They don't become leftover women. That is a huge, huge embarrassment for the women of China. If a woman in China at the age of 30 is not married, she will hear about it from everybody every day her whole entire life. Imagine the pressure. Imagine. So let's talk about how do women define real man. Let's talk about that. Let's not take anything for granted, guys. Let's get into it. What makes a man real versus not real? What do women mean when they say, I want to meet a real man? Well, the first thing they're thinking about is they want a man who is masculine. Women in Ukraine will often say that their men are over-mothered, that the dads aren't around, so the men are raised by hard-working, sometimes exhausted, single moms for years and years and years. And those moms are incredible, incredible moms. They're resourceful, they're tough, they are smart, they can raise those men to adulthood and get them to 23, 24, 25 years old with a university degree, ready to go out in the world and find their way. The problem is the culture in Ukraine then becomes very suffocating for men and women. There are very few jobs. There's tons of corruption. You have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody to get ahead. You have to pay bribes for anything in Ukraine. And there are so little opportunities for good men to make money and support their families. And quite frankly, some of them are, I mean, they're big men, but they're not strong enough to be able to be successful in the right way in Ukraine. So they become despondent, they drink, they fall into despair, and they become unreliable. Women in Ukraine want men who are masculine. So what does it mean to be masculine? It means you're healthy, healthy-minded, healthy in body. Think about this, guys. What you're asking women to do at the end of this adventure is going to require, I mean, a lot of risk on her part, a lot of faith on her part. She's going to literally put her life in your hands. You've got to be healthy. You've got to be strong. You've got to be ready for that. You've got to be working on getting healthier. That's very, very important. So you're healthy-minded. You're healthy physically. Guys, do you remember my presentation which talked about the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world, right? And how I thought that was kind of the persona that older men needed to have in order to attract younger women. You have to be calm, you have to be confident, you have to have a little bit of a sense of humor, although the more sense of humor you have, the more better. You have to be emotionally balanced. You have to have good relationships around you. You've got to be stable. Women will often say, especially women in Ukraine, but women all over the world will say this, I want to be a weak woman in a relationship. Now, that doesn't mean they want to be controlled. That doesn't mean they want to be kept. It doesn't mean that anything negative. What they mean is the world is on my shoulders. I'm raising this child. I've got nobody who helps me. I'm on my own. I have no support. There's nobody in my social circle who can support me. And the world, again, it's just the weight of the world is totally on me. I'd love to be able to give that to somebody and be weak. And by weak, they mean they don't have to be strong. They don't have to carry all of the weight themselves. They can share that weight with someone else. Or even for periods of time, a man can say, hey, honey, I got this. Give it to me. You relax. You take it easy. I got this. Don't worry. Whatever that is. It's interesting, isn't it? American women, American culture, we just don't think that way. You're not going to hear very often women say, I want to be a weak girl. But it is interesting and kind of alluring to a certain extent to have a woman say in so many words, I would like to be able to lean on you if I can lean on you, right? I think there are a lot of men that still desire that kind of old-fashioned idea that you can lean on me and I will provide and protect you. So it also means he's good to his word. He's masculine. He knows how to make an oath and keep it. He's good to his word. Now, here's the thing, guys. Let's put this in perspective. Other than the obvious, why is that important to international women? In places like Ukraine, in places like the Philippines, in other places, Thailand, Latin America, Peru, for example, Russia, in so many countries, nothing comes true for these girls. Nothing that's promised is ever delivered upon. Life is just a series of fairy tales that never become real. Nothing is given away for free. It's dog eat dog, scratch and fight every day, and words are cheap. I mean, that is the existence that a lot of foreign women live in every day. So they find it very, very hard to believe someone's promises until he demonstrates that he can keep those promises. In fact, you will do that by backing up your words with actions. Because the knightly man will back up his words with actions and be very consistent in doing so. And that is what will separate you from thousands and thousands, really tens of thousands of other men who are here communicating with these women in some way, trying to get their attention in some way, saying a lot of stuff that they don't mean. It's one of the sad realities about what we do is there are a lot of men out there writing letters or chatting, saying things they just don't mean. The knightly man won't do that to somebody whose life has involved so many letdowns, so many promises broken, and so many fairy tales that just never came true. So you've got to be masculine, you've got to be healthy and strong and confident, you've got to be good to your word. Foreign women will define a real man as a man of action. We've been talking a little bit about that, right? So one of my favorite quotes from Tony Robbins, right? Success is commitment followed by massive, determined action. Those three words are really interesting. If we're committed to get on a plane to go and meet somebody, but we're challenged to do that, if we respond to that challenge with massive, determined action, can we meet that challenge? I know there are times in my life when I have not responded to a challenge with massive determined action. And there are times when I have. And there's a difference in the outcome, definitely, right? A lot of us guys, we get complacent. We get in a mold of routines. We defeat ourselves before we're really defeated. Can you save money? Can you work a second job to ensure your security? Can you do some things that make sense so that you can get on a plane and go and meet somebody? I've said it many times, and it's absolutely true. I hear guys tell me all the time, I want to write long letters. I want to tell all about my life. I want every single one of my 3,000 characters. Bud, your letters are very expensive. I'm going to get my money's worth. I'm going to write a congressional filibuster every freaking time. Guys, women don't want that. I promise you, women do not want War and Peace. They read War and Peace in school. They want a man to get on a plane and come to them without ever writing a word. Get in front of them, take them by the hand, take them to dinner. So many of these women, so many of these single moms haven't been to dinner in a long time. They haven't had flowers in a long time. They haven't had a thoughtfully prepared present. They haven't had a guy telling jokes and laughing and making them laugh in a long, long time. They don't come home at night after a 14-hour day with a child who needs to be fed, who has homework and needs to go to gymnastics and get to bed by 10 o'clock and read War and Peace. They're not going to do it, at least not on the level that you want them to. And we think that we're in love. We think we're engaged in a relationship when we're writing War and Peace. All we're doing is perpetuating a gigantic pen-pal relationship. More on that in a little bit. It's tough love, guys, but it's love. Your actions make a statement. That's how you become a man of action. You develop a pattern of promise, then commitment, then action. I promise I won't forget your birthday. Hey, it's your birthday. Did you get the flowers that I sent you? I promise that I will come to you in February. It's February. Here I am. I promise that I'll send you copies of whatever documentation in the fiancé visa process. Here we are. I sent them to you. You do those things so that as a man you deliver on the things that you say you will deliver on. Look, guys, believe me, I have so many opportunities. I can't keep track of them all. I have so many opportunities as a man. And what we're talking about tonight is catharsis on my part. Things that I've realized are important in my own self-development. So I'm not judging anybody. I don't want you to sit back there and be offended because I'm giving you this tough love. A lot of what I'm giving you is stuff that at some point in my life, however recent or in the past, I've read. I've read into, I've committed to, I've realized for myself, right? Yeah. All right. Defining what women mean when they say, I want a real man. Here's one that surprises guys all the time, but it's really important. Women want you to have good relationships with other people. International women believe that a real man values other relationships, has good relationships with his family and his friends, likes his employment, has a good relationship with his employer, with the community, with people around him. And as you interact on the tour with people around you, the staff, the interpreters, the waiters and waitresses at restaurants, you're not that kind of, stuck-up angry American who decides, I'm just going to yell and scream until I get what I want. And that's my first reaction to get what I want. You're calm, you're cool, you treat everybody with respect, you're a gentleman, you've got this wonderful suave demeanor. That is what women are looking for. Women are looking for an emotionally balanced guy. Because if you're not emotionally balanced with the people around you, sooner or later, they know you're not going to be emotionally balanced with them. Your good relationships with other people around you and the way you can speak to how you enjoy this part of your job or all of your job, how you enjoy being a part of the community in this way, how you enjoy this charity that you participate in. Positive things. I have such a great relationship with my brother. He's my best friend. I love him dearly. I have great children. I love my children. I respect them very much. The way you can speak positively to the relationships around you show that you are an emotionally mature person, which is incredibly critical to these women from anywhere that we go, guys. So you need to be able to demonstrate and speak to the good relationships in your life. That is part of being a real man. You will fiercely protect what is yours. You are absolutely ready to go to battle, however you perceive that, for what is yours. First of all, if you're a manly man, if you're a knight, you're going to stand up one day and say, this is mine. This belongs to me. I claim this. If I have to fight to claim this, I'm going to fight to claim it. But this is mine. I claim it. And then you're going to go and build a wall around it and protect it and make it yours. That is such an important thing to do. It's such an important statement to make. Now, again, may not work so well in our culture, right? But there are other cultures that you can easily visit and be a part of. Women all over the world do not have men who can do that. Men in Ukraine find it very difficult to do that. They're struggling. They're trying to secure their own happiness and find it very, very difficult to provide stability and happiness to somebody else, right? Men in the Philippines, very much the same way. There are all kinds of wonderful men in the Philippines, but they struggle and struggle. It's very hard for them to make money, so it's very hard for them to get married and support children that they create sometimes. And women know this, right? Sometimes the men in Latin America, very altruistic, that machismo culture. They want very much to provide and be the loving husband and be adored, but they have to have work. And when they have work, they have to be faithful to their wives. And a lot of men around them aren't doing that. In social circles, the men are messing around. Women are always available to mess around with. In Latin culture, the men find it difficult to be good men. Sometimes. But you as a real man are going to declare, this is mine. I'm going to fight for it. I'm going to protect it, provide for it, nurture it, and I will absolutely do whatever I have to do to ensure that around me. That is part of being a real man. This is something you can't accomplish sitting in your chair writing letters, guys. There's nothing real man about doing that over an extended period of time. And he's generous. Well, that's always a word that throws guys off too, right? Guys ask me all the time, Bud, she wrote in her profile she wants to meet someone who's generous. What does that mean? It doesn't mean what you think it means, guys. You're not here because you think these women are poor and desperate, right? I hope, because they're not. You court properly and with gusto. You enjoy courtship. You enjoy buying flowers. You enjoy selecting a perfume. You enjoy doing a little gesture here and there that makes her happy. You really like that. It's part of your favorite part of building the relationship, right? You remember important dates. Hey, a month ago we met. It's our 1 month anniversary. Here's some flowers. Or let's go out to dinner. It's our 6 month anniversary. It's your birthday. Hey, it's your mom's birthday this weekend, isn't it? Can we go together and pick out a nice gift for her? Will you help me do that? You take initiative to remember important dates, to celebrate important dates, or to just court properly and buy flowers. You know, we do get a few guys, not many lately. I'm happy to say a lot of these guys have just gone. I think they're going to our competitor, which works out for me, but because they're just not here anymore, and they used to be in high numbers. Cheap guys, you know, who just performed so minimally in courtship and really just couldn't leave a good impression for the women. Look, you don't have to spend a ton of money to impress somebody. You just have to spend a little bit of money thoughtfully conducting a courtship that you're really proud of, right? Flowers, small gifts. There are so many ways to do that. And our staff, everywhere we go, Bangkok, China, Ukraine, the Philippines, will give you great advice. And here's a little simple thing that doesn't cost a lot of money but leaves a great impression. And if you say you're going to do it, you do it. That's all part of being a real man. Right? Yeah. So international women define real man. He's masculine, he's healthy, healthy-minded, healthy emotionally. He's working on the best physical health he can be in because I'm going to put my life in his hands. And I need to see that he's strong enough emotionally, physically, mentally to handle that. He makes a promise, he keeps it. He demonstrates that pattern over a period of time. Also, if I ask him not to do something because it hurts or offends me, he stops doing it, says he won't do it again, and doesn't do it again. He keeps an oath. He keeps his promise. He is a man of action. He makes a decision. He commits to it. He follows up with decisive action. And he does it again and again and again so that I can rely on him when I cannot rely on anybody else or any other man I've ever met in my entire life. Right, guys? I cannot rely on the men that are writing to me saying all these wonderful, beautiful things who are never going to go anywhere and meet anyone because they're in a comfort zone. I can't rely on the stuff that they say. He is getting on the plane and coming to meet me. I can rely on what he has to say. He has good relationships with everybody else. Every letter he's not going over and over the verbal vomit of how his wife broke up with him and broke his heart 25 years ago and he's never gotten over it, so he can't trust women anymore. And you know, all that negative stuff that nobody wants to hear time and time and time again. It's okay once. It's understandable once, but he's not going on and on. He's paying too much child support. He's doing this. He's doing that. I don't have to listen to all of that because he's on good terms with everybody around him, or he's at peace with things that have happened to him so that he has good relationships. And that means when I'm with him, we will meet people who have a good impression of him, and that will be a pleasant experience for me. Friends, family, business associates, members of the community, etc. He's a fierce protector of family and his lands, right? What he claims to be his, he fiercely protects it. He fights for it. He's not blasé. He's not half committed. You can tell that I'm important to him, she will think. And he's generous. He won't leave me sad and lonely on my birthday. He'll remember International Women's Day. He'll take care of me on Valentine's Day. He'll send flowers just because. He'll do those little things, little thoughtful things that are really great that nobody does and nobody's done for years at a time. That is a real man.